Hey guys, um, welcome to episode 4. This for all kinds of classics for the construction of what really is right now, in my best opinion, a 1929 Chrysler. Probably be registered as a 1930 Dodge, just simply because you'll find out in the upcoming video some of the things that I've done. But there was no identification on here. There's no serial number. Those were tags, and they were gone. From the best of my knowledge, they were in the passenger side door jamb. There was nothing there. This had been sitting in a salvage yard since the 70s. I remember seeing it when I was a kid in high school, for crying out loud. Anyway, the long and the short of it is, in this video now, we're finally moving forward and straightening the body out. Now, if you remember, the body was not connected to the chassis for about 70% of it. And so using the doors then as the reference, or the reference points, squaring the doors, just establishing a gap, and then putting those into the pockets, and then pulling the body all over the place to try to get it into a location that it needs to be. I talk about that in here, and how I'm straightening it out, and how I'm building an inner superstructure or a frame to brace and hold and keep everything where it needs to be. How I'm doing the comparison, and how I'm finding where my stretched material is, my out of shapeness is for the body because of the amount of damage on here. In this case, we need to establish a reference, and that's what I'm doing here. Finding out where the body should go. And in this case, too, I'm working on the damage in the rear. If you remember, right next to the rear window, and it was just smashed. I mean, a forklift had gone underneath the rear window and screwed up that opening, and the body was crushed on the passenger side. The rear passenger door was actually trapezoided, and there was just so much damage that needed to be straightened out. And in this case, the hammering and some of the tools that I use will be explained in this video to try to get this thing put back into shape. This was a heck of a project, and it certainly was a challenge. But here now we're making a little bit of progress on the body and starting to get a shape out of it. And please take an opportunity to look at it. Comment. Let me know. Let me know your thoughts, and any suggestions, any concerns that you might have. But keep it up. Share it. Please share it. Like it. Subscribe so you get my next one. And again, I'll try to get these out at least every week. Trying to hit 3 days, but I've got 400 or 500 videos now, and three or four of them I suppose make up about a half an hour. All right, thanks. Enjoy. Doing that, I keep putting the background noise on. I'm trying to film, and I'm just watching TV. Well, it's what is it? 10 after 5. Started the X bracing. Got the floor braces in underneath. One underneath tying right at the point where that knee is. One 1x3 comes all the way across and ties the two sides together. Another one right behind the floor opening. It ties the two rails together. The rails being these rails that are welded in, and basically tying the inner frame structure together for the car. Degreed out every post, and then yesterday started building the rear frame rear frame for the window opening. Now this car had roll-up windows in that third pane, and that might be in an earlier video. But basically, the simplicity of the cars back in the 30s was such that the dimensions all seemed to be relatively and generally square, plumb, level, and fractionally to the eighth of an inch in many, many cases, and very consistent. The consistency was profound. As an example, the window channels. This is 5/8 of an inch. This has a lip that rolls under, which provides a channel for the window wiper. Okay, and then you got your fleece on the older cars that mounted into here. But this opening is 5/8 of an inch from this lip to this opening. And that becomes important because on the body, you got the same lip here with a channel, 1-inch brace. This will just tack weld to that brace. Will just go down, bzz, 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 bzz. Have to clean it and all that, but there's plenty of room to get in there. And then 5/8 away is this. Was cognizant of that when we built the frame. So this ties into the interior panel looking straight across. All of these members are flush with the other member. So the window will roll down into the channel, roll up. I'll have to, the structure will be within the body panel, all that kind of thing. I knew this car from the very beginning, with the back all wrinkled up, a lot of which was hammered out. I knew this car would be a little bit bent. But at this point, starting at the front, we'll talk a little bit about that. Starting at the front, there was a crack in here. When I sighted these two posts, this guy was tilted back a little bit. And I needed to get this post perpendicular with the ground with the car level. 90 degrees with the car level. And so I worked and worked and worked, and then I found, pushing and pulling, welding to this and to this, getting a strap on here, running her down to the cowl and pulling and anything I could do to try to get this plumb or straight, running a straight edge along the door, all that kind of a thing. And basically, got her in, welded that up, tested, and eventually she came out nice and straight. Once that's straight, I know that reference is good, then I could measure to here. These plumb out at 91.5 degrees out, both ways, 90 degrees straight up, of course, as this is. So dimensionally, the same distance at the top and the bottom for that. Same thing with the rear post. For the rear post, it holds the hinges for the rear door. And so on and so forth. Anyway, as everything starts to plumb out and angle properly, we know that even though the way the body rolls, let's sight down a door. The doors are curved at the top. They're straight on the interior side, but they have a curve at the top, so that your body line flows all the way to the back. And so then I come to what's going on with the back. What's going on with the back? Why do I think the back got crinkled up? Well, for the obvious reasons, there were dents in the back. You can see this side flows very, very, very well. When you sight down it, it flows very well. This side, on the other hand, when closing the doors, you see how it comes in? I'm holding the doors closed, and then I'm going to let go of them. He comes in, he falls in, and then he kind of
has a little wow right there. Not a lot, just a little tiny bit of a wow. And so I horsed and pushed and pulled, because we knew from earlier videos that there's no connection all the way around here. All the way around. And the result of no connection all the way around means that the rear of the vehicle could move freely. So I knew that eventually I'd find it. I just didn't know when I would find it. And at this point, after I got this structure and started working on this yesterday, I found it. So up in here on the top rail, which is a 2-inch piece, 1x2, again, will be tack welded to the window channel, all along here. And that'll be the top channel. 2x2, one by square, 1 by square inside of here, 5/8 gap, 1 inch gap between the tubes, 5/8 because this comes in 3/8 of an inch. This little channel is 3/8 of an inch deep. Again, old cars almost notably can identify where they're going to land. Remember, AutoCAD was a piece of paper back then. Anyway, so after this is all welded together, flush on the inside, I could easily drop a 1/2-inch bar in between the 1-inch, the 1x2, and the body. I could drive a 1/2-inch bar into this area right here, meaning it's a little better than a 1/2 inch away. I had to tap a 1/2-inch bar into that side, indicating that the top is a little bit this way. After I finished welding up the frame and flushing it out, this is the bottom brace where the wood was screwed to. I got a very small amount of pull there, not even 1/4 of an inch. I go over here. Look at that. Now I can just go ahead and throw a clamp on there and pull it all over, but as you remember, on this side of the vehicle, she dips in and comes and swoops around, indicating that this side needs to go back a little bit. It's maybe 1/8 of an inch to 3/16 right here, but we know this needs to go back. Now we can just clamp on there and yank like a mother and all that kind of a thing. But I don't think that's the cause, because we lost our shape here. We lost our shape right there. And when you have a bead in a piece of metal and you have an impact right here, that moves all the metal around it. So we're going to try to unfold this bead today. And if we can't, we'll have to cut it out and redo it. Yes, there's a patch. It's going to need to go in here and some bullet holes and all that. But the most critical thing for me today is to get that to move at least as close as that, if not touching that. And I'll have to smack and pound and do whatever it takes to kind of pull those wrinkles and tears and all that ugliness out of there. Now, I don't need to get it perfect. What I need to do is get in my shape. And once I get in my shape and the car is sitting perfectly level, I need to add more bracing, but right now the bracing is supporting everything that needed just a little bit of this and a little bit of that. It's holding it where it needs to be held. So now I'll try to get this flat, get a lot of this kind of work to where it needs to be basically metal finished. Make sure that my heights and various measurements assure that this and this are level. If these are level or parallel with the bottom of the floor, with everything inside of there, then I can begin welding the backs and building my perimeter brace that will wrap around, catch the bottom of that window, 2 posts, another one wrapping around, and then that will satisfy all of the structure and replace all of the wood that was in this car. And then we're back to just forming. This is the tool that I made. I just polished a piece of bar stock, welded it to a air hammer, and then polish it because I don't want to have any uglies. And this will just go in, and I'll work and work and work and work and work until I get a shape. I can hold a dolly on the outside, and I can work that bead until I get or at least a rough shape. Well, that's today, and this is the beginning of the day, where most of them are what I accomplished in the day. I'll try to get some more information to you as we go, but please stay tuned, and let's watch the progress of this 1931 Dodge body take shape. Thank you. Okay, well now it's noon. Getting started at about 5:30. And you remember from my earlier videos, this is a 1-inch tube. It's about 1.5 inches out. Now he's about 1/2 of an inch out as I start to bring it in. And shutting the doors, you can see that the body has come out so that the body line flows very, very well with the rear door, where before it was kicked out a little bit. On the rear, that already just sights just beautiful. And then on the back, we are getting her. Got the window about straight, little bit of hammer and dolly work, and then you can see the little right there, and as it follows down the panel, that's got to come out. However, you can clearly see that this whole area needs to go in before I finish dollying that off. So a little more work on moving this over and tightening up that radius. Last video of the day. It's 5 o'clock, about 10 after 5. I usually go a little stronger, but this is date night. See the window channel? Straight, but you can see the tape. I'm going to go to this side now. See how the tape buries itself in the curve across there, about what, 2/3 of the window. Come over here. We're getting there. We still have a little bit on the rear window to get that vertical on this end. We got a lot taken out here. A lot of hammering on this corner. And she is taking shape. That clamp and that, well, they both look like this now. For gap. Everything's coming where it needs to come. So, pretty happy with it. Pretty happy with it today. Tools. CAD. Got this from another video. Cardboard aided design. C-clamps. Coarse body hammers and tools. Various lengths of tubing. For longer runs where I want to straighten out a seam or a line. Of course, quarter power. And whatever I can use for blocking. That's the rig inside. Braced in the window jamb, the vertical post, run the quarter power up, and create a spot, hit all the high spots, move it. It's been a laborious day, but my gosh, what a difference that took. June 15th, 2022, wrapping up the day. Well, today is the day I finally decided to rip the roof off. Or the back. That mangled mess was causing me grief. Way too much grief. So I worked all this damage out. to try to get back to the shape, because I don't want to remove a bunch of sheet metal until I have a shape. And now she sights really good. So everything, I don't like this right here, but that's a lot of color. That's just a lot of shadowing. But there's cancer down here, so I might even replace that whole section. Anyway, cut the roof out, leveled the car, got the car leveled. It's been leveled. Got all my posts all measured out, and they're the same. Got my rear frame in. Okay. Partially tacked, partially welded. There's certain areas I needed structure. I'm pulling on this because the rear window, gonna go sideways, did not properly sight with the front. I'm trying to get on those 2 bolts, and I go center line. You can see on this side, that bolt right there. See? It's a little this way. So what I need to do first off is build a reference, because with the whole body removed from the cancer in the back, I don't know what sagged, with it hit and damaged, and forklifts going in and busting up window jams and putting weight on this side. Who knows what was loaded into it? A ton of dirt, obviously. But now I need to start to get this area straight. Since I got the side straight, start getting the back lined up so everything kind of starts to fall into place. Then I'm going to work on this. I hammered and dollied a little bit on the roof just to try to get it so I got my dimensions. Now I got a little bit of, I got a low spot here and here. Well, you can see the high spots on the shiny marks. So I got to take some of this out later, but now I'm not substantially affecting the shape of the vehicle. And then I re-welded in the tear on the front. Took all the lead out. You can see over here, there's the lead that I melted away up to this point. You can see there's a factory weld right here. That'd be gas welded. And right here, I welded across this to bring that back in. And right in here, a little more hammer on dolly, but I'm low in this area here. But I've got a good top shape because of the edge. And wherever there was a little wrinkle or a crinkle, I straighten those edges out. So at this point now, I'm going to start bracing at key points so that that level sits as straight as it does on that side, on this side. And the bubble needs to be level so that this matches the bottom. That's the project. You can see on this side and on this side. Here we go. Here we are at the plasma table. This is the old piece of siding. Had to cut 8 pieces. Those are the last 4. I made in pairs this curved bar using a press. This curved bar follows the original line of the rear header piece from the car. That's the original oak that was in the car. And it doesn't even look like oak. And there's 2 of them because one goes below the window like that. That's just sitting in there static like. After I had, that's why I had to do all the body work to hammer out all the dents, just to find my shape. Once I found my shape, got rid of the noise that was upsetting my shape, then I could get these pieces in. So one down, one above. They'll go in. Tie the window, picture frame the window. I'll put vertical here, a vertical there, and then I'll tie it back down to the floor. But the floor is still not connected. You can see the little daylight through there and there. But I'm not worried about that right now. Car's sitting level, everything's squared. I braced everything now. Found a location for the roof on both sides, tied them into the bracing just so the roof sits nice and flat. I used a level across the roof to level it with the car. I still have some work to do. I've got the front tied in now, welded in. Got the lead out and tied in the roof. But I'm getting the shape in. It's got a little peak here, right there. Still got some shape to put into it. It's got a peak here because it's got damage right here. But I dollied a lot of that out just so that I could get the fundamental shape of the car. Now I'll get the end of the frame put in, the last of the frame, before I go and align all of the doors and all of that other goofy stuff. I'll get the sheet metal work done. Sheet metal work should be relatively quick, and then I start, I don't know where I was going with that. Get the sheet metal work done. Oh, and then start whatever I want to do for customization and fabrication. At that point, we'll have it working 1930 or 1931 Dodge Shell. It's only been 4 weeks. I want to get rid of these too. I want to get rid of all, whatever there are, 10 of those. I don't like those door hinges. But I've got a creative idea. I know they make them, they make kits, but I've got a more creative idea. We'll get to that later.